Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me and this is the first time you're seeing my face, hello. Welcome to my home. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really appreciate it. Today for you, I have a book haul. This is kind of my May book haul plus my birthday book haul, all just combined into one. And there is a crap ton of books. So please feel free to grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, because we have got a shit ton of books to talk about. And we're just gonna dive right in. So the first pile I have over here, I was in kind of a desert fantasy mood at the beginning of the month. I was buying some desert fantasy books, and these are the ones that I found. I picked up Peter V. Brett's The Warded Man. This is the first installment in, I believe, the Demon Cycle Chronicles, I think is what it's actually called. I don't know anything about it right now off the top of my head. When I bought it, I knew, but right now I don't. But I know this is the first installment, and it's also known as The Painted Man. It was released in Britain as The Painted Man, and The Warded Man, they are the same book. So, if you've seen the cover, but it says Painted Man, they are the same book. I'm fully aware of that. Along with that Peter V. Brett book, I also picked up The Desert Prince, which this is the first installment in a new fantasy series. I do not know the name of the fantasy series, but this is the only installment that's currently out right now, and it takes place in the same world as the Demon Cycle, Chronicles. But you do not have to read that series to understand this one. It is completely different. It's just taking place in the same world, from what I understand when I went on the author's website to find out if I could buy this book without having to read the other one. So, but I love this cover. It's very reminiscent of like Prince of Persia, which I watched a few months ago and kind of became obsessed with, and I think that's what kind of spurred the whole I want to read some desert fantasy stuff. I'm not gonna lie about it. Pretty sure that's the reason why. The next one I have that's also along that desert saga fantasy deal is The Sand Sea by Michael McClellan, and this thing is fucking huge. This thing is ginormous, but it is noted as an astounding epic novel of J.R.R. Tolkien proportions. So, and that was by Steve Pressfield, who wrote The Gates of Fire and the War of Art. This thing looks intense and intimidating and world spancy and all that other jazz, so definitely something I'm gonna have to devote some time to, but I think I'm going to like it, and I kind of like this old kind of style graphic on the cover. I think that's kind of unique. Yeah. Another popular book that is here on BookTube that I finally picked up that is kind of desert fantasy is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first installment in the Davaba trilogy. This is super popular here on BookTube, and I finally took the plunge and picked it up because I have been eyeballing it for a while. I'm really excited to read this book. I'm not quite for sure when, because when I bought this book, it's all dog-eared. Boo. That's depressing. It's all jacked up and stuff. Don't you just love that? Anyway, when I bought this book, I was really excited about reading it, but I'm not really in that desert fantasy mood anymore. So I don't know when I'm going to be picking it up, but I do want to read this because it is super popular and I want to know what the big hype's about. So, all right. The last book that I bought because of this desert vibe feeling that I've been feeling was Bodhi and Brock Fion's The First Light. This is the first installment in the AD Chronicles. This is a Christian historical fiction, I think is what it is. It takes place during the time of Jesus Christ and kind of how he came about. And I thought that was really interesting. Me being Roman Catholic, I do like reading about religious history, and I always find it interesting when authors take their own personal spin on historical fiction in the time of Christ. I always find that really interesting, and the few pieces that I have read, I've always enjoyed them, so I think I will like this one. And this, I think, has quite a few installments. I'm not quite for sure how long the series is, but if I remember on Goodreads, there was quite a few of these. So it is a fairly decently sized series. Of course, they don't have a series guide in here. I don't know why books don't include that, but they don't. But yes, I picked this one up and I look forward to starting it. The next book I picked up was Jennifer Saint's Electra. Yes, Electra, that's how you say it. She's also the same author of Ariande, which I also do have. I have not read it, but this was a buy one, get one 50% off at Barnes & Noble when I went for my book buying, shopping spree for my birthday. And this covers Clemestra, Princess Cassandra, and Electra. So it's all three of those women's stories, and I'm assuming how they all intertwine. It's actually quite short, so I think it'll be a fast read. And I've heard really good things about Jennifer Saint's writing, although I have not read Ariande. I do plan on reading it. It's on my TBR shelf. Eventually, I will get to it. So, my father-in-law is a huge Stephen King fan, all right? And when I was book shopping, I thought, you know, he talks so much game about Stephen King. And I've never read a Stephen King book. I have seen many Stephen King films that have been adapted from his books, and I always enjoy those. I'm a big fan of them, but I've actually never read a Stephen King book. So I asked my father-in-law, if I were to start Stephen King, where would be a good starting point? And he started rattling off all these books. But then he said, if you really want a good starting spot, start with his series. You work well with series, so start with his series. So I picked up The Gunslinger, which is the first installment in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I know this is a film. I did see the film a long time ago. I don't remember anything about it. I don't even remember if I liked it. So this will be really, really interesting, but my father-in-law said this is a great book. It's also super short. So I hope I will be able to read it very quickly and maybe get kind of my teeth wet or my feet wet with Stephen King. Okay. All right. So in the month of May, I am a member of Book of the Month, and I am not sponsored by them at all. I just like their program. And this month, I couldn't decide on one book. So I actually got 3 books of the month this month. And since it was my birthday month, I just chalked up, it's my birthday month, I'm gonna do what I want. So this month, for the Book of the Month picks, I picked Breathless, which is kind of like a survivalist story, and it sounded really, really interesting. I'm a big fan of films such as Everest, Day After Tomorrow, big, Earth, act of God type films that involve some kind of survival element. I think it's a really interesting concept, and this is what this reminded me of, and I just thought it sounded really good. It was a thriller. I don't have a lot of thrillers on my shelf, so I am in the process of trying to pick some up, because when Halloween season comes around, that's what I'm gonna want. That's what I'm drawn to, horror and thriller, and Halloween, that's what I'm drawn to, and so I wanted to have some ready to go. So I picked up that one. I also picked up Liz McCluskey's A Darling Girl. I am not a huge fan of Peter Pan, but this is a Peter Pan retelling where Peter Pan is the villain, and it sounded fan-fucking-tastic. And also, when I was reading the synopsis, I was trying to figure out the family tree, and it threw me, because the way I was reading it is that he fathered his own grandchild. And I'm pretty sure I'm reading it wrong, but I just needed to know. I needed to know, so I picked it. And now I have it, and I will hopefully be reading it soon, because I do love a good retelling. But again, I'm not a huge fan of Peter Pan. I always thought he was kind of annoying, but you know what? We'll see. And then I also picked up The Hacienda, and by Isabella Canas or Canay. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her last name. This just sounded really too good to be true. Thriller, kind of a haunted house sort of vibe thing, and I just thought it sounded fantastic, so I was like, bring it on. And also, I was watching The Mayans when I ordered this book, and it just kind of reminded me of The Mayans show. I don't know why, but it sounded really interesting. So those are my book of the months this month, and I'm super pumped about those. I did pick up quite a few more, so we're still going here, guys. I know I'm not giving you good synopses on these books because, let's be honest, I haven't read any of these books. And most of the time when I buy books, I read the inside cover and I'm just like, hey, that sounds good, throw in my cart, let's go. I don't do a lot of research on books when I buy them, and everybody to each his own, and so far I've gotten fairly lucky with that. So we're just gonna keep going. I recently finished A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I picked up the second installment and the third installment in the series. This is The Missing of Claire Ledune and The Memory of Babel. So this is the second and the third installment, and the fourth installment is actually on its way to me. It has not come in yet, but I will have the whole series so I can marathon the rest of this series because I really enjoyed A Winter's Promise. I had a good time with it, and I really want to know what and if there's a romance between Ophelia and Thorne, because I feel like if it does happen, it's going to be epic, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be super fucking pissed. Either way, I'm probably going to have a good time. So, I got this series. Yay! I have been wanting to try this book for quite a while, so I bought it on a whim. This is the last book I bought for my birthday kind of shopping element. When I got some clothes and some shoes on Amazon, I threw this in my cart real fast, and that is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. It sounds almost like a Hunger Games for villains. Like, that's the only way I can describe the book jacket of this. And I never read The Hunger Games, but I saw all the films, and this just seemed really interesting. I also love the cover art on it. I thought it was really unique, and so I'm kind of excited about starting it up and seeing where it goes, because I do like to root for the bad guys. So, yeah. It's a thing of mine. Okay, let me get readjusted here. All my other books are over here now, so. Oh, I do have two more over here, so let me just lean down and get those. Thanks. All right, so part of my birthday shopping spree, I went to Barnes & Noble, and they now carry the Penguin Cloth-Bound Classics, and they had two that I've been wanting for a while, so I picked them up. I picked up A Christmas Carol and Other Writings by Charles Dickens, and isn't this just, oh, this is just stunning. I love these. I think these are the most beautiful books in the world. I love these editions. I just love them so much. The only thing I don't like are these stupid fucking stickers on the back. That's annoying as shit. But you know what? I will live with it. But this is just, it's just beautiful. And I read A Christmas Carol every year. At some point in time in December, I will read A Christmas Carol and I watch the film. It's just part of my tradition, so I had to have this one for my collection. And then they also had a picture of Dorian Gray. This is one of my favorite classics of all time, by Oscar Wilde. Oh my God, this is beautiful. And I am so happy that it's now in my possession, and I'm just, oh, it's so stunning. It is so much stunning. And this one came with this little cool back piece, which they normally don't have. That's really interesting, because the other one didn't have that, but it does have a quote from Dorian Gray: "There's no such thing as a moral or an immoral book." And I think that's awesome. So that's really kind of cool. Yeah. So now I have these for my collection to add. These are just stunning. If you'd like to see which ones I have for my collection, let me know, and I'll make a video just about my Penguin Cloth Bounds. I do have quite a few, but not to the extent that a lot of people do, but I do have a decent sized collection. I'm very proud of it. All right, so my next pile right here, everything in this next pile is all fantasy. Most of it, I don't really remember what it's about because I read it and it sounded awesome, or I've heard a lot of people brag about it on BookTube and I just wanted to jump in and have the hype. But this first one, however, was to complete a series that you can see sort of down here, this neon green and orange book. This is the Grey Bastards series, and I picked up the third installment, and I believe this is the final installment, the Free Bastards. So there we go. This is the kind of Sons of Anarchy on actual wild hogs with orcs kind of concept book, and I'm still very much looking forward to reading these. I wanted to pick one up this year or this month for my birthday, but I just didn't get to it. But I did get the rest of the series, so I was very, very happy about that. The next book I have is actually a bind-up of the first three books in the Black Company Chronicles, and it is The Black Company, Shadows Linger, and The White Rose. And these are the first three books, and it looked so beautiful. And the back is what really threw me, signed me up for this. This is a quote from Steven Erikson, who is the author of Gardens of the Moon, a book I have not read, but this is what he said. This is what he blurbed about. With the Black Company series, Glenn Cook single-handedly changed the face of fantasy, something a lot of people didn't notice and maybe still don't. He brought the story down to the human level, dispensing with the cliche archetypes of prince, kings, and evil sorcerers. Reading his stuff is like reading Vietnam War fiction on peyote. Okay. All right. I'm down for that. I'm down for that. And since this is a bind-up of three books, I thought I was getting a bonus. So, yay. The next one I have is the first installment in the Age of the Uprising, and this is the Engine of Empires, Forged in Fire, Bound in Blood. I have zero idea what this book is about, but I love this cover, and it looked cool. The back sounded cool, but I couldn't tell you what this book's about. So if you know anything about this one, let me know. Let me know if I'm gonna like it. But I love some epic fantasy books, and who doesn't need more fantasy on her shelf right here? It's not like I'm running out of shelf space now. Speaking of adding more fantasy, here's another gigantic popular one that is on BookTube, and I finally picked up. I picked up the first installment in the First Law trilogy. I believe this is the first. Yeah, this is the First Law trilogy, A Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, the godfather of grim dark fantasy. And apparently this thing is badass, and if I like rooting for bad guys, I've been told by multiple people that I will love this book because of one of the main characters in it. You just love to hate him and you love to love him at the same time, and he's kind of a baddie. So I'm super pumped up finding out who that guy is, and I'm really excited about it, and it looks really cool. And I like the graphics of this cover. I had the hardcovers in my Amazon cart, but then when I found the paperbacks, I was like, I kind of like this a little bit better than that hardcover version. So yeah, there we go. Another first installment, but I think this is the only one out in this series right now, is David Dalglish, The Bladed Faith. I saw Holly Hart's books talk about this book, and she raved about it. So I definitely wanted to pick it up and give it a try. It looked really cool. I mean, look at the assassin. It just looks fucking cool. It looked really cool. And that's why I got it. Like, sometimes I just buy books because they look cool. Probably not the best idea, but you know what? I'm only hurting myself if I don't like it, and most of the time, I end up liking it. So there you go. I also picked up Tara Sims' The City of Dusk. This is the first installment in the Dark Gods series. I believe that this is actually sapphic. I believe, or it's just LGBTQ rep. I was told that somewhere. I did not know that. So that's really cool because I don't think I have like anything on my shelf really, or shelves that is like that. So let's do the rep. That sounds great. And it looked really cool and it sounds awesome. For every realm there's a god, for every god there's an heir, and every heir there's a price. Okay, sounds great. Sign me up. So there's another chunky fantasy book to add to my list to read. And speaking of chunky fantasy books, I loved Malice so much that I already had this series, and I already had the next installment of the Bloodsworn series, but I did not have the series in between. And Barnes & Noble, when I went to go buy books for my birthday, I had been wanting to buy this series for a while, but they've never had all three. They've only had 2 or 3, and this time they finally had 1, 2, and 3. So I got 1, 2, and 3 of Blood and Bone series, which is the series that falls right between the Faithful and the Fallen and the Bloodsworn series from John Gwynne. So now I have 2 complete series by him, and I've only read 1 of his books. That sounds awesome. I don't care. I fucking loved Malice. I thought it was fantastic, and literally everybody who likes him says that all of his stuff is fantastic, so I'm not worried about that at all. And just these covers are just beautiful. So there is A Time of Dread, which is the first one, A Time of Blood, which, look at this cover. Oh my god, look at this. This is, whoever the artist is for these covers, just, god, he's fucking phenomenal. Or she is. Like, he has the best covers. Oh, they're freaking beautiful. At least this series, and this series is stunning. Very, very big fan. So, those are all my fantasy books that I got for this book haul. And, oh, no, it's not all the fantasy books I got. I did get another full series. I loved Empire of the Vampire, which you can't see it, but it's right here, by Jay Kristoff, and that was the first Jay Kristoff book I've ever read, and I just loved it. It's still pretty much the best book I've read all year, and he has written the Nevernight Chronicles, and I was really timid about trying it because I loved Empire of the Vampire so much, but Barnes & Noble came through with me again, and they had all 3, so I got Nevernight, which is book 1, God's Grave, which is book 2, and Dark Dawn, which is book 3. And I believe these all follow an assassin, and I believe they're YA, but I found them in the adult fantasy section, so maybe I'm wrong on that. But I do know that they believe they follow an assassin, and they're supposed to be awesome. And I loved Empire of the Vampire, so if I like these, Jay Kristoff might be another favorite author of mine. Oh my god, that'd be awesome. Yes, so I have a whole other new series. Yay! All right, and the last genre of books that I picked up were all romance books, so we're gonna dive right into those. So there's my little lantern right here and my duck. I don't think you can see him, but he's down here. My coworker Amy decided to get me a birthday present, which was really, really sweet of her, and I love her for it, but she didn't know what to get me, so she went on Etsy and found a woman who does dates, a blind date book. A blind date with a book kind of gifts, and she did one. All you do is pick the genre, and then it came wrapped in a brown paper package with string and some stickers, and it was really, really cute. I freaking loved it. And the book that I actually got was The Highlander's Sword by Amanda Forrester. This is a historical romance, and I do love a Scottish historical romance, so I'm very excited about picking this up soon and just diving right in. And the shop, I think this is one of the, I think one of these has the name of the shop. Oh no, I don't know what the shop's name was, but she did send this really cute little bookmark with it. And then I've already put the stickers up and everything like that. So, but yeah, that was one of my birthday presents for my coworker, and I just absolutely love it. I think it's adorable, and I'm excited to read this book and see what it's about. All right. So, I also picked up A Touch of Malice by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the 3rd installment of A Touch of Darkness from Persephone's perspective. So A Touch of Darkness is the Hades and Persephone story from Persephone's side, and this is the 3rd installment of her perspective. So I did pick this up. I cannot read this yet until I read Game of Retribution, which is on order, and it will be here in 2 days, and it looks like this. So I also bought this book for my birthday, and I am super pumped about reading this one. So once I'm done with this one, I can actually pick this one up, because then I can wait for the 3rd installment for the Game of Retribution. So I do have this one ready to go, so I can just marathon these 2 books back to back. I'm super excited, so, because I love this series. I love this series so much. So much. This book I found because of Jen at the Book Refuge, and it just sounded really interesting, and I was like, okay, I'm not really big on alien sex, but it sounds too good to not pick it up, so I picked it up, and it's the 1st installment of The Naga Brides, and this is Viper by Naomi Lucas, and I'm just, look at this cover. Look at it. That is so fucking badass. I love it. Oh my god. I love it. I know nothing about this. I just know it's an alpha snake guy. Just an alpha guy, and the heroine I believe has red hair, which makes me even happier. So yay, go me. So yeah, add my my kind of alien-esque romance section. I did get 2 paranormal romance books. I picked up the first in the Royal Blood series, which is The Vampire's Throne, and this thing is itty bitty. It's super tiny, super tiny. I picked up this guy, as well as Savage in Touch: A Savage Horde of Mates by Milana Jax. This is the 1st installment in this series. I believe there's only 2 of these out right now, and there are 4 of these. So I picked up these 2 little guys for some quick little romance reads if I just want some quick smut really, really, really quickly. So yay, there we go. This was a recommendation from Amy, my coworker. She read this entire series, and this is Ivy Smoke's Temptation. It's the Hunted series, and this is a teacher-student romance. At least this installment is. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. I feel like I'm going to like it because I'm just still in that romancy mood. I've been reading a lot of romance lately, and why the hell not? All right. Now, this next book has already made an appearance on my channel. I have already read it and loved it, and that is The Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geisinger. I freaking love this. This is Cage and Natalie's story, and it's just fan-fucking-tastic, and I just loved it so much that I put the rest of the series in my cart, and I bought them. So now I have the whole series. Now I own Savage Heart, Carnal Urges, and then the most recent release of Brutal Vows. And I think Carnal Urge is actually the second installment, so I can just marathon to my heart's content about this Bratva Mafioso Alpha Sexy Men. Let me look at that. This is just, my shelf is gonna look so fucking hot, just saying. Oh, love it. So, there we go. And I found this series because of Jen over at the Book Refuge. And is this stunning? Oh, so pretty. I love it. Another book that has made its appearance on my channel already, and I already loved, was The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. And because I love this so much, I picked up the next 2 installments of this series. This is the Brutal Birthright series. So I picked up Stolen Heir and Savage Lover. So now I can marathon a little bit. I do not have the entirety of this series yet, but I do have enough to sort of get me through. So yes, I'm very, very excited about continuing the series. I very much loved my experience during the Mafia Romance Readathon, where I read these 2, the JT Geisinger book and the Sophie Lark book, and I just fell in love with this genre. I think it's like a new favorite subgenre for me for romance. I'm obsessed. They are the alpha men. They are dark. They are mean. They are possessive, and I'm just like, give it to me. During that romance readathon, I also picked up an Audible book called Bratva's Baby by Jane Henry, and I read the entire trilogy because of that romance readathon, and I loved it so much I wanted to own it. So I picked up the first one, and this is The Bratva's Baby by Jane Henry, and here is Casimir. Oh, he's so fun. This is the first installment in the Wicked Dom series, and I just love him. I wish the glare, there he goes. There we go. Isn't he just, oh, I just love him so much. I just love it. This book was excellent. I just loved it so much. So that is everything I got for my birthday and the month of May. A lot of books. Sorry, not really good on the synopses, but I've got a lot of cool books to read coming up, and I've got a lot of stuff to pick from. But I'm probably still gonna buy more books. Let's be honest, I have a problem, and I'm always gonna buy books. But that's what I got for you guys today, and I will see you guys all soon with another video. I hope you guys are having a great Memorial Day, which is the day that I'm filming this, and you are staying safe. Thank you for all of you veterans out there. If you watch this video, thank you so much for everything you do. We really, really appreciate it. So have a good one, guys, and I'll see you guys still soon. Bye.